22nd of November, 1122, if you will. What have you got for us? Again, we've got, it looks like a small day, but some of these aspects are definitely not small. Okay. This first one, just after midnight, definitely not small. Okay. This energy at midnight, this is for the witches. So if you're watching this, this is for you. So this is where we really see those things that we keep in the dark and how we can use them, right? There's a lot of big, heavy trauma, crisis kind of energy around here. But with the sun and it being a trine, they want to work in harmony. Okay, so this is where, as someone who works with their ancestors, someone who is on the witchier side of the world, this is the kind of energy that you want to be really working on, that like release of that ancestral energy, really allowing that last degree of the sun in Scorpio to really light up some places of trauma, really helping us to look at, especially because of the Mercury Lilith situation, really having us look at the ways in which we've held ourselves back because of shame or guilt around, sexual energy, around feminine energy, and around our creativity, and feeling like we don't have a place to show it, or not trusting that it's going to be received the right way. And so firstly, we get this energy of Scorpio and Pisces wanting you to find a way to combine their powers together, right? So Pisces is this kind of integration energy, and Scorpio is this death and rebirth. So how can they work together? And then the creative nature of that is how are they then working together to heal things? Right? Scorpio is a very creative energy. It comes from sexual energy. Everything is created from it, literally, right? Like life is created from the reproductive system, and Scorpio looks after that. And then Pisces is the spiritual realm. So in a lot of ways, Scorpio brings life from the spiritual world, or from the consciousness, or from the idea of creation. It brings it into the real world, right? It's the death and the rebirth. And it's really pulling through with this aspect. How do we turn that ancestral energy, which is kind of just a concept, right? It's not something we're grabbing in our hands. How can we pull that through and make it part of this new thing that we're building? And that is going to roll us into this 1237, this Mercury conjuncting Lilith at 26 degrees, which is a Taurus degree. And so it's about stability, it's about worth, it's about money. And Mercury at 26 degrees of Scorpio is really asking you what your mentality is around worth, and where you think it's worth investing your mental energy. Lilith at 26 degrees of Scorpio is about your worthiness to have your Scorpio needs met, right? Deep creativity, deep emotional understanding, being able to communicate in taboo situations, really leaning into that sexual energy as a point of creation. And so this one is like, the trine is trying to show you where there's an untapped ability. And this conjunction says, well, these things work together. Like these things can work together. So the mentality, the Mercury component, it can work with this rejected self idea. These two things can work together. And with a Mercury in Scorpio, so when is it coming out of its retrograde? 30th. So it's still retrograding. So we're allowed this energy to sort of look back at something we might have missed in regards to that. So how you are communicating through this creative kind of death and rebirth filter, and the worthiness around it. And because we're coming from like Scorpio and Sag and the Mercury retrograde that is in that, this component is like, there is a kind of truth that you've been looking for about where you invest your time and money, and your mentality behind where you invest your time and money. And potentially in the past, there's been a lot of shame or guilt or misunderstanding around it, or there's been like a hoarding, or there's been like an overspending, but there's been some component that comes with shame and guilt, and that has been affecting your worthiness, and therefore it is affecting what you can actually call in and become abundant. And then we get to this 3:56 a.m. square to the node, and at the Gemini degree, it's really just asking for curiosity. It's causing these moments of friction so that we can move forward through it, so that we can learn, so that we can grow through it. So the moon at 15 degrees of Sagittarius is asking you to be curious about the journey. It's asking you to be curious about the things that you believe to be true, and the things that you think work best for you. And it's asking for curiosity because the North Node at 15 degrees of Pisces is trying to move you into a space that is more spiritually aligned with you, more healed from trauma. But there is a discomfort to the North Node because we've never been there before. And so this is where we need to use this 15 degrees to really stay open during this like obstacle that comes up in your way, or like wherever action needs to be taken, you're going to see a conflict. Okay. And so then we get to this hazy kind of middle of the day, 7 a.m., 11:37 a.m., semi-square, semi-sextile, little bit of a hazy kind of energy. We're trying to look at this outworn situation that has stopped us from feeling like we can be ourselves, be the weird version of ourselves. And that's very likely to show up in a relationship. And through that relationship, you'll be able to see the details of whatever the fucking thing was that we need to let go of. And so we move from semi-square is kind of an not so great an aspect. It's very frustrating. It can be a little bit subtle, but it is quite annoying. And like you need to stay open-minded during a semi-square because there isn't really an answer. And the semi-sextile is kind of the same in the way that you need to stay open because there isn't really an answer. But it is something that's trying to be positive, and it's trying to say like, yeah, look at all the details here. You can see all of these things, but we can't be quite making a decision on anything just yet. And that's great because Mercury is still retrograde, so we don't want to be moving. Then 11:44 a.m., this is where we take that 18 degree Sagittarius energy, which is looking at the details, 18 degrees being the Virgo degree, the details and the reality of the journey that you're on and how that has been impacted by beliefs of the past, right? Jupiter, 24 degrees of Cancer. So either your family or your ancestral family, and we're integrating those energies with the 24 degrees because that is a Pisces energy. So with all of these details, what is it that you're letting go of now? What are you letting stay behind so that you can continue on this journey? What habits might you need? What real world things might you need? What reality needs to be looked at? Okay. But you can't look at that until you let this thing go. Then 8:33 p.m., we've got this 23 degrees trine. So we're sort of feeling a little bit in our weird energy when we're looking at this moon, right? So this is like really your emotions could be quite loud at this time because it's Aquarius, 23 degrees, so it wants to be itself. And Sagittarius, you tell it like it is. So there's a fire behind this, and it's trying to work together with the authenticity we are looking for that we kind of packed up because of the childhood wound. Okay. And then we see, a compromise energy now, right? Because the moon will be at 24 degrees, Pisces degree, trying to integrate these lessons that we need to let go of from the family, this understanding of secret authorities and things that we thought were truth that we never really questioned, right? And so there is something really needing to be understood, something really needing to be adjusted in relation to how you see the journey of healing your wounds in relation to the family that are around you. Okay, that's all I've got. Stay weird.